Conquering 70.3 miles is no small feat.
The thrill of crossing that finish line after swimming 1.2 miles, biking 56 miles, and then running 13.1 miles is unmatched.
But with countless half Ironman races around the world, choosing the perfect one can be daunting.
That's why we voted on our favorite half Ironman races from our personal experiences. After averaging the results, these are our top 10 favorites.
Whether you're a seasoned triathlete or a first-timer, these events offer stunning scenery, challenging courses, and an unforgettable experience.
Get ready to be inspired as we dive into our picks for the best Ironman 70.3 branded races that we've ever done.
Starting out at number 10 is a race the circuit bid farewell to in 2018. Ironman 70.3 Buffalo Springs Lake was an iconic event in its heyday, known for a pristine, wetsuit-legal swim, a challenging bike course that could be prone to the intense West Texas winds, and a run that rivaled the heat and intensity of Kona. So much so, a portion of the run used to be known as the Energy Lab 2. As race entries dwindled over the years and the Buffalo Springs Lake community became less supportive of the race, it eventually rebranded in 2019 to the next race on our list.
Number 9, Ironman 70.3 Lubbock. In an attempt to revitalize the race on the West Texas plains, event organizers moved the race to a more city-centric event. But gone was the swim in the spring-fed Buffalo Springs Lake, replaced by Lake Dunbar. Not the greatest swim venue. In its first iteration, the bike course still included some of the iconic climbs from the Buffalo Springs days, but in its final 2 years, the course transitioned to a flat, rural course that was also prone to the unrelenting wind gusts. There were also 2 versions of a run course, one that was completely within the Texas Tech campus, and another that was point-to-point from Lake Dunbar through portions of downtown and ultimately to the university for the finish. Unfortunately, the event folded after the 2022 season.
Coming in at 8 is Ironman 70.3 Waco. It's a race that starts with a downstream swim and is typically wetsuit legal. By our ranking, we are using the 2019 and 2021 bike course, which we do want to note has been updated since 2023. In our experience, the road conditions were poor with a lot of turns. Both years were also windy, which added another element of challenge on the bike. On the run, a rolling 2-loop course has a lot of spectator support, and 2 climbs up the hill in Cameron Park provide a serious challenge for all athletes. But the vibe along the pedestrian bridge and the finish line is certainly top-notch.
Taking the 7th spot is Ironman 70.3 Augusta. Since we did the race in 2022, race organizers have made updates to the run course, which frankly we think is admirable, and it would probably change our rankings if we choose to return and do the race again. For the swim, it's hard to beat an incredibly fast downstream swim, although you will have to contend with the sun in your eyes. The bike course is full of fair rollers, but the downfall is the poor road conditions throughout much of the course. As mentioned, the run has changed a lot since the year we raced. It's the year that the infamous train stoppage impacted several runners during the event, thus the need for a course change. Then it was very spectator friendly, and logistics, for the most part, were easy for athletes and spectators to navigate on race weekend. Augusta is also a supportive community that welcomes triathletes and families to the heart of the city each year. Next up is Ironman 70.3 Des Moines at number 6. Logistically, it's one of the easier races to navigate for both athletes and spectators. While the swim has an exorbitant amount of turns, 5, the mostly flat and mostly closed bike course more than makes up for it. But it's the run course here that really stands out. There are a few short hills on each lap, but this is otherwise a mostly flat course. The areas in the park and around transition are full of spectator support to give athletes a big boost. After completing 2 laps, the final 3 miles of the course leave the park and head towards downtown. You won't see the finish line until right at the very end because it's around the corner from the straightaway run you'll have to close out the day.
To the triathlete mecca and Ironman 70.3 Boulder we go for number 5. The race is centered around the Boulder Reservoir, and it's where you'll start your day with a swim. Historically, it's wetsuit legal, but not too cold. There are minimal turns and visibility in the water is fair, and who can complain about seeing the Flatirons in the distance? The bike has evolved in recent seasons and is now a 2-loop course with some closed roads. It's not particularly hard, but count on some good rollers and some short climbs that are followed by some fun downhill sections. When you get to the run, you'll probably be feeling the altitude and the heat, as it's fully exposed across a mixture of pavement and gravel. However, much of the run course within the reservoir is full of supporters to cheer you along to the finish line.
We've made it through 5 races, and we're not done yet. Stay tuned to find out the races we ranked at the top of our list. Now, let's take a special look at the 3 World Championship races we've experienced since 2018. Coming in at number 3 is the 2022 Ironman 70.3 World Championship in St. George, Utah. The community is known for its enthusiastic support of the race, and it was on display. Logistics came into play with 2 transitions and the need to take a shuttle to the swim start on race morning. The swim in Sand Hollow provided good visibility but was crowded, and for those in the late waves on race day, they were subjected to an intense storm. Road conditions for the bike ride were very good, some challenging climbs including the iconic Snow Canyon and a ripping descent back into town. But the weather included a hailstorm that athletes are still talking about to this day. The run can be described in 2 words, hot and tough. Although the crowd support was top-notch and the final stretch to the finish line was worthy of a world championship.
Ranking second is the 2018 World Championship in Nelson Mandela Bay, South Africa. Talk about a community that embraced the event. The South African people showed up in a big way. The swim was in the Indian Ocean, crystal clear and cold. The women's race day was fortunate to have perfect weather and race conditions. The bike course was mostly good pavement throughout and included a decent climb around the halfway point and epic views returning along the coastline. The run course was lined with spectators and locals cheering all along the way. A 2-loop course, it was mostly flat with a couple of small climbs at the U-turns on either end of the course.
Our top-ranked World Championship event is none other than 2023 in Lahti, Finland. A clean, clear, and slightly cold swim with minimal turns led to a finish that was packed with cheering spectators. The bike course was as pristine as the swim and featured some fair rollers with very little in the way of flat sections. But it's hard to beat the scenery of the Finnish countryside. It was truly a breathtaking course. The run also featured a good amount of rolling terrain in the midst of stunning scenery along the 2 loops. There was also the tour around the Lahti Stadium running track and views of the giant ski jumps before weaving back to the lake area along a gravel running path. The finish line was truly one to remember.
Now on to our final top 5 ranked Ironman 70.3 events. At number 4 is Ironman 70.3 Indian Wells La Quinta, an early December race in the California desert. It's hard to beat the weather. While it might be a little cool on race morning, overall the conditions tend to be perfect for a long day of racing. But be prepared for a cold swim. It's always wetsuit mandatory as the water temperature is in the mid to upper 50s. The water visibility is good and the scenery is nice, although the course can get a bit crowded in the tighter swim area. The bike course is flat and fast, but road conditions in some sections leave a lot to be desired. Make sure your bolts are tightened and your bottles are secure. But once you get to the Thermal Raceway, be prepared to have a great time as you take a loop around the racetrack. This point-to-point bike takes you to the center of the activity at Indian Wells Tennis Garden, and the run treks around the garden and through some fairly challenging rolling terrain along a golf course cart path. For scenery, this 2-loop run course is hard to beat. However, be prepared to plan ahead logistically for 2 transitions before race day and arrive early at T1 for gear drop and mandatory wetsuit decontamination on the day before the race, because traffic into the lake area will back up for miles.
Next on the list is the ever-popular Ironman 70.3 Chattanooga, ranking 3rd. Despite having an extra 0.2 miles on the swim, you don't notice because it's all downstream and point to point. While the water isn't exactly clear, it's not terrible. And the width of the river gives swimmers plenty of room to avoid too much contact. As this race has grown in popularity, so has congestion on the bike course. That might be a strike against this race, but beginning in 2025, organizers have announced that the field will be reduced in size. As for the bike course itself, it's full of rollers and is a fair course. While it's known for Andrews Hill and the Chickamauga climb, with proper training and a positive mindset, anyone can take on these 2 challenges with success. The bike course does have some sections of rougher road surface, as well as it's not close to traffic, but both are pretty minimal. The run course is 2 loops, mostly along the Tennessee River, and there's a fair amount of shade with a few sections being fully exposed to the heat and the sun. You'll definitely experience some rolling hills along the way, and the weather is usually on the warm side come race day. However, there is a ton of spectator support, and running across the pedestrian bridge is energizing. Overall, the community of Chattanooga is welcoming and supportive, making this one of the best races we've ever experienced.
Almost to number 1, we've made our way to the final 2. And at number 2 is Ironman 70.3 Ohio. Located on Lake Erie in the city of Sandusky, this race is a hidden gem. The community support, ease of access, and seamless logistics give this race an edge when it comes to the intangibles. The swim starts with a leap off the back of a ferry to the roar of spectators lining both sides of the inlet. The freshwater swim is murky and can get crowded and has potential to be choppy, as well as including a section swimming into the sun. The flat and fast bike course takes you out into the Ohio farmlands, and the road conditions are absolutely perfect. Despite the numerous turns on the course, this is one that's prime for a personal best. You'll also hear the cheers of the locals who sit out alongside the road to support you on race day. The run might not be the most exciting visually, and with long straight stretches zigzagging through town, it's not epic. But the crowd and the community support is top notch. Residents and supporters line just about every single mile of this 2-loop course, and it's hard not to get a burst of energy along the way. Once you make the final turn to the finish, it's just a few yards through the finish chute and the end of a memorable day.
Before we make the number 1 reveal, let's recap the list so far. At number 10, we have Buffalo Springs Lake, and number 9, Lubbock. Both races now defunct. At number 8 is Waco, and in 7th is Augusta. Taking the 6th spot is Des Moines, and breaking into the top 5, we have Boulder. Number 4 is Indian Wells La Quinta, with Chattanooga ranking 3rd, while Ohio takes the 2nd spot. Now it's time for the big reveal. What race tops our list of favorite Ironman 70.3s? We have a tie at number 1 between Ironman 70.3 St. George and Ironman 70.3 Texas. St. George is known for its beautiful scenery and exceptional community support. If you like hard and challenging, this is the course for you. While split transitions require some planning, it's relatively easy to get from point to point. The bike course will take you through and up the epic climb in Snow Canyon. And once you make your way to the run, the course is full of spectators cheering for all the athletes along the way.
For Ironman 70.3 Texas in Galveston, it might be one of the easiest venues to navigate and a top-notch course mostly centered within Moody Gardens. There's just one transition, and getting to the swim start is an easy walk. The swim is in a protected saltwater bayou, and there's plenty of room to maneuver without too much contact. On the bike, once you navigate out of Moody Gardens, it's a flat and straight out and back on smooth, closed roads hugging the Texas coastline. Then to the run, you'll circle the course 3 times, with plenty of opportunities for your cheering squad to encourage you to the finish line. If you want a race with easy logistics, Texas is hard to beat, and it's a perfect race for a first-timer.
And those are our top Ironman 70.3 races ranked.
We look forward to doing more races in the future and adding to our list.
Is there a race we need to check out?
Have you done any of these races, and what would you rank as your favorite?
Hit us up in the comments with your suggestions and top picks. And while you're at it, give this video a like and subscribe to follow us on our future race adventures.
Thanks for watching.